We saw footprints circling our camp all night. I've never talked about this night before. Not really. Not the real version. I told my girlfriend's parents some bullshit story after it happened. Told the cops something else entirely. I haven't even said the truth out loud. Because the truth sounds crazy, but I remember every second of it. Every sound. Every footstep. Every fucking breath. We were out in the North Cascades. Mid-July. That's important. Because we weren't exactly alone out there, but we weren't exactly not alone either. The weather was perfect. Sky so clear you could see every damn star. Air just cool enough to need a hoodie once the sun dipped behind the trees. Me, my girlfriend Lacey, and her college roommate Trevor, who I never liked. Too loud. One of those dudes who thinks a pocket knife makes him Rambo. We parked the Subaru at a dusty turnout off the highway mile marker, 123, right past that old bent road sign, and hiked maybe 4 miles into the backcountry. Lacey had picked the spot from a camping subreddit, supposedly some hidden overlook, rarely trafficked. Instagram gold, she called it. No marked trails, just a semi-cleared space where the trees opened wide enough to see across the valley. It was stunning. I'll give her that. Miles and miles of nothing but green and silence and sky. We set up camp before dark. 2 tents, Lacey and I in one, Trevor in the other. Split a Yeti cooler of snacks and cheap vodka. Passed around a Bluetooth speaker with some crappy true crime podcast playing. Typical shit. Stupid laughter echoing through the trees. S'mores we didn't even finish eating. That kind of vibe. That night, after the fire died down and Trevor finally stopped running his mouth, I crawled into the tent with Lacey. She fell asleep fast. I didn't. Something was already off. It started with the quiet. Not the kind you enjoy when you're camping. The bad kind. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but there's a kind of silence in the woods that's too much. No rustling, no bugs, no wind, just this dead, pressurized stillness. Like the trees were holding their breath. I laid there, eyes open, just staring at the fabric above me. My skin was crawling and I didn't know why. I figured I was just overcaffeinated from the drive or something. Until I heard footsteps. Soft. Crunch. Crunch. Just outside. One slow circle around the tent. I held my breath and listened. Then it was gone. Just like that. I wanted to believe it was Trevor. Drunk and stumbling to take a piss, maybe. Except I didn't hear a zipper. I didn't hear him trip over a rock or snap a branch. Just those light, measured steps. And then silence again. I waited. Tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was an animal. A deer. Something small. But deep down, I knew that sound. I've heard people walk on dry pine needles my whole life. That wasn't an animal. That was a person. I didn't wake Lacey. I don't know why. Pride, maybe. Or fear of sounding stupid. But I didn't sleep. Not a damn second. By morning, the whole thing felt like a bad dream. The woods were loud again, birds, bugs. The usual soundtrack. Trevor was already up making instant coffee, swearing about the taste like it was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. I almost laughed about the night before. Told myself I'd imagined it. But then Lacey stepped out of the tent, pale and quiet. She glanced at me, then said real soft, "Did you hear someone walking last night?" And that's when I knew. I wasn't losing it. We both turned to Trevor, but he shook his head, eyebrows up. "Nah, I passed out." "Why?" I said nothing. Lotzi didn't push it. But something unspoken passed between us, like a static charge. It got worse that afternoon. We went to collect water from the stream about a mile downhill. Me and Trevor went together. left Lacey behind reading a paperback. It was maybe an hour round trip. When we got back, she was standing outside the tent, pale as hell, phone in one hand, bear spray in the other. "Who moved my book?" she asked. I frowned. "What?" "It was in the tent. It's not there anymore. I found it over here." She pointed to a log, maybe 20 feet away. None of us had touched it. I swear to God. I tried to downplay it, of course. Maybe it fell. Maybe she dropped it. But the way her hands were shaking told me she knew. That night, we triple-checked the zippers, made a show of it. All the food hung up, bare bag out of reach, nothing left behind. We even moved the tents closer together. Didn't matter. The footsteps came back. More of them this time. 2 sets. Slow. Careful. Circling. I stayed perfectly still, listening to them move around us like sharks in the dark. Once they stopped right outside, I could hear breathing. Right outside the nylon. And then, light. Just a flicker. Like a flashlight quickly turned off. I reached for the knife in my backpack. My hand was shaking so hard, I nearly knocked over the whole damn tent. No one said a word. Not Trevor. Not Lacey. We all just laid there, silent, frozen, waiting for morning. When the sun finally came, we packed up fast. Barely spoke. I told them we should hike back. Say we forgot something. Come back in a few days. But we didn't make it back to the car that day. Because somewhere around mile 2, we found something in the middle of the trail. A photo. One of those old Polaroids. Face down in the dirt. Lacey picked it up. It was us. From the night before. Sitting around the fire. No one else was supposed to be out there. I don't think I've ever seen someone drop something the way Lacey dropped that photo. It wasn't like in a movie, slow and dramatic. It just slipped out of her hand. Like her brain short-circuited and her body forgot how to function. I picked it up. Held it in my fingers. My mouth went dry. It was taken from a distance, probably 30, maybe 40 feet away. You could barely see us in the frame, blurry and grainy. But it was us all right. The fire in the center, glowing faint orange. Trevor's dumb puffer vest, Lacey's ponytail. I could even see the neon green of my Nalgene bottle near my foot. But it wasn't the fact that someone took our picture that fucked with me the most. It was the angle. The photo had been taken from elevated ground, like someone had stood on a small ridge, or maybe a tree stump, just outside the firelight. They had been watching us, and they had a camera. A Polaroid. Who the hell carries one of those into the backwoods? Trevor let out this short, nervous laugh. Dude, this has to be a prank. It's probably some dumb REI YouTube series or something. They're probably filming campers for reactions. Social experiment, whatever. He said it. But he didn't believe it. Not for a second. Lacey just kept shaking her head. No. No. No one was out there. I would have heard someone. We all would have. I wanted to throw the damn photo away. Burn it. But I put it in my pocket. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me thought we'd need it if this turned into whatever the hell it was starting to turn into. We picked up the pace. No more water breaks. No small talk. Just heads down, boots slamming dirt, eyes constantly flicking to the trees. Every branch crack felt louder. Every bird song felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Like something or someone was following us, staying just far enough away to never be seen. By the time we got back to the car, the sun was already dipping. The whole trail had taken longer than expected. We hadn't even realized. We threw our gear into the trunk, slammed the doors shut, and peeled off that turnout like we were being chased. But it didn't stop. We booked an Airbnb in town, tiny cabin near Winthrop, about an hour away. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, a pull-out couch, and a bunch of live, laugh, love signs nailed to the wood-paneled walls. We didn't care. It had a door and a lock, and that was enough for me. We didn't talk much that night. Just sat around the little kitchen table, drinking shitty boxed wine Lacey found in the fridge, and scrolling through our phones like that would somehow make it all feel normal again. But I couldn't sleep. I just kept staring at the front door. Sometime after midnight, I went to the bathroom. Light flicked on. Fan hummed. I stood there at the sink, hands braced against the counter, just staring at my reflection. That's when I saw it. A flash. Through the tiny window above the sink. Just a flicker of white. So fast I almost missed it. I froze. Waited. Nothing. I turned off the light. Stepped out into the hall, another flash. This time from the front window near the door. "Lacey," I whispered. "Get up. Get up." She stirred on the pull-out couch, blinking at me. "What?" "Someone is outside." Trevor was still snoring. I shook him awake. He mumbled something, rubbed his eyes, then sat up fast when he saw my face. I reached for the fireplace poker, the only thing even close to a weapon. My hands were sweating so bad I could barely grip it. We turned off every light, locked the bedroom door, shut the blinds, huddled in the dark, phones in our hands. No one called the cops. I don't know why. Maybe because we still wanted to believe it wasn't what we thought it was. Maybe because we didn't want to explain why we had a creepy Polaroid in our pocket. Or maybe we just didn't want to feel that helpless yet. The night dragged. No more flashes. No more sounds. But none of us slept. The next morning, Lacey said she was done. "We're going home. I don't give a shit if it's 10 hours. I'm not staying another night in this area." We packed in silence, drove back towards Seattle. Barely spoke. Everyone looked like hell, sweaty, pale, jittery. We stopped at a gas station outside of Leavenworth to grab food. Lacey went to the bathroom. Trevor and I stood by the pumps. That's when I noticed the car. A beige 1990s Ford Explorer, parked across the lot, under the shade of a crooked tree. Windows tinted too dark. Paint peeling. Someone was sitting inside. I couldn't see their face, but I could see the camera, resting on the dashboard. An old Polaroid. I don't know how long they'd been watching us, but when I turned my head to tell Trevor just for a second, the car was gone, like it had never been there at all. I swear to you, the car was there. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. Beige Ford Explorer, front bumper scraped up, black mold or moss crusted along the side. The Polaroid camera had this red stripe on it, like something from the 80s. It was just sitting there, centered, facing us. I stared, long enough to memorize every scratch on the damn hood, but then Lacey walked out of the bathroom. I turned my head for literally a second, and when I looked back, nothing. No engine starting, no tires crunching gravel. The Explorer was just gone. I ran across the lot like a maniac, looked behind the store, down the side road. Nothing but a few RVs and an empty trailer parked under a pine. Trevor followed me, calling my name like I was losing it. "It was right here," I told him. I fucking saw it. He didn't say I was wrong. He just looked at me with that same pale, glassy expression I'd seen on his face back at the trailhead. Like part of him knew and didn't want to admit it. Back on the road, the silence was unbearable. We didn't turn on music. No one talked. Lacey kept glancing in the side mirror, like she expected someone to be tailing us. And then the worst part, we got home, and for 2 days, nothing happened. Nothing at all. No weird texts, no missing items, no photos slipped under the door. We just slipped back into regular life, like the whole thing was a fever dream. Lacey went back to work at the cafe. Trevor flew back to Denver. I sat at home, half waiting for something to happen, and half hoping it was over. I even told myself maybe we were just overreacting. Maybe it was just some weird hiker, a harmless freak who stumbled on our camp and decided to mess with us. People are weird, right? But on the third day, Thursday, I got a manila envelope in the mail. No return address. No stamp, just left in the mailbox. Inside were 6 Polaroids. Not in an envelope, not taped, just loose, bouncing around in there like garbage. All 6 were shots of me, not us. Me, sleeping, pissing behind a tree, laughing beside the fire, brushing my teeth with that stupid charcoal toothpaste Lacey gave me, sitting on a log with my face turned just slightly toward the camera. I dropped them on the floor like they were burning my fingers. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream. They weren't printed from a phone, or sent from a drone, or some bullshit. These were film. Polaroid film. That means someone was right there, holding a camera, taking pictures, at multiple points during that trip. And not once did we hear a shutter. Not once did we see a flash. They were just always around us. Hidden. Quiet. Waiting. That night, I locked every door, shut the blinds, triple-checked the windows. I didn't tell Lacey. I don't even know why. I guess part of me wanted to protect her, or maybe I just didn't want to say it out loud. I slept on the couch, with a hammer under the pillow. At 3:27 a.m., I woke up to the sound of breathing. Not mine, not from inside the house, from outside, right next to the living room window. Long, slow breaths, controlled, like someone trying not to be heard, but failing just a little. I didn't move. I didn't grab my phone. I just laid there in the dark, listening to someone watch me sleep from the other side of the glass. And then, a light tap. 3 soft knocks against the glass, like fingertips. Not loud, not angry, patient. Like they had all the time in the world. I didn't go to the window. I just laid there, eyes wide open, waiting for the sun to come. And when it did, there was nothing there, except one new Polaroid, leaning against the outside of the window frame, held down by a small, sharp rock. A picture of me, laying on the couch, last night's blanket still around me. The photo had been taken from the window, from where they stood. That was the day I called Trevor, told him everything. Told him about the photos, the knock, the breathing. He didn't laugh. He didn't even speak for a few seconds. Then, real quiet, he said, "Dude, I think I found something in my luggage." Trevor didn't even sound like himself on the phone. His voice was lower, like he hadn't slept. And he kept pausing like someone might be listening on the other end. "You still there?" I asked, after another long silence. "Yeah," he said, breathing heavily. "Yeah, just hold on." I could hear him moving around zippers, something being pulled across hardwood floors. He was digging through his stuff. "Okay," he muttered. "It's a shirt, folded weird. I didn't pack it. I know I didn't pack it." Another pause. Then his voice got shaky. "It's not even mine, dude. It's like a child's shirt, little flannel thing. Size maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. But it smells like mold and firewood and something else I can't even describe." He sniffed again. I could hear the panic building in his voice. "There's writing on the inside tag. Not printed, written. With a marker." "What does it say?" "It says, 'He sleeps like a baby when he drinks.'" I didn't say anything. I couldn't. The line sounded so random, so specific, and I knew it was about Trevor. I remembered that first night at camp, how he passed out drunk while Lacey and I laid awake. Someone had been watching him, long enough to write down a goddamn observation like that and tuck it into his backpack. "I thought this was over," he whispered. "I thought we left it behind in the woods. But I think they followed us." He was right, and I think we both knew it. 2 days later, Lacey was gone. She didn't text, didn't call, didn't answer her phone. Just never came home after her shift at the cafe. I called her coworkers, her mom, even the guy who runs the taco truck she liked. No one had seen her. I started calling hospitals, then the police. Filed a report. Told them everything well, most of it. I left out the part about the Polaroids, and the tapping, and the smell of sweat, and rot I sometimes thought I caught at night. I searched every inch of the apartment, and that's when I found her phone, hidden. Not dropped, not left out, hidden, shoved into the back of our kitchen drawer, wrapped in one of her old socks. It was turned off, the battery drained. I charged it up and went through it. Nothing seemed weird until I checked her camera roll. There were pictures I didn't recognize, photos of her sleeping, on the couch, in our bed, once on the balcony, during a nap in the sun, all taken from the outside. Window shots, zoomed in, slightly tilted, blurry in the way that made it feel even worse somehow. And then the final photo, the newest one, her face, eyes wide open, looking straight at the lens, not scared, just hollow, blank. And I swear to you, there was someone behind her. You could only see part of the shape, a figure in the background, half obscured by her hair. But you could see the tip of a knife against her shoulder. A real one, long, old, jagged at the end, like it had been sharpened with a rock. My throat closed up. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the phone on the counter like it might burn me. That's when I heard it. My front door. Click. Just like that. Unlocked. I hadn't touched it. I know I hadn't. I checked the lock just 20 minutes ago. I stood there, frozen, staring at the doorknob from the kitchen. Then came the knock. Soft, 3 times. Not frantic, not angry. Patient, just like at the cabin. I grabbed the knife from the drawer. My hands were shaking so hard the blade tapped against the counter. I didn't speak. Didn't breathe. Whoever it was didn't try to open the door. They just stood there, waiting. And then sliding under the door came an envelope, plain white, unsealed. Inside, another Polaroid. Not of me, not of Lacey, of Trevor, tied to a tree, mouth taped, shirtless, duct tape wrapped tight around his wrists, his eyes swollen and red, like he'd been crying or screaming. There were marks on his chest, cuts, shallow and strange, like symbols or letters. I couldn't tell. And next to him, barely visible, they stood. One figure, masked, hooded, holding the Polaroid camera as if they were taking a photo of the photo. A Polaroid of a Polaroid. A message, a warning, or worse, an invitation. I don't remember dropping the photo. I only remember the sound it made when it hit the tile soft, like a dead moth landing. I stared at it on the floor, too afraid to pick it up again. Trevor, tied to that tree, cut up, mouth taped, somehow still alive. He'd flown back to Denver, but this picture wasn't old. You could tell by his face his beard was longer now, his hair messier than when I last saw him at the gas station. And the way the photo was angled, it looked like it had been taken this week. My head was spinning. I called him, straight to voicemail. Tried again, and again. I texted, "Call me now. Got a photo of you. Are you okay?" No response. I must have stood in my kitchen for over an hour, just staring at the front door. My hands kept clenching like I was holding something, but I wasn't. Finally, I grabbed my keys and bolted. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I just got in the car and started driving. I think part of me wanted to go to Denver, maybe find Trevor, but another part was screaming at me to get the hell away from everything. From home, from the woods, from them. I pulled off at a rest stop about 2 hours outside of Seattle. One of those old ones, cracked pavement, one flickering light over the bathroom. Empty. Silent. You could hear wind whip across the roof like it was whispering. Left the collar in the sink. Then this line, bolded and underlined so hard, it tore the paper slightly. I think the campers are the collection. I think we were chosen. He described things I still can't forget. A tunnel in the woods filled with tent fabric and fingernails. A humming noise coming from tree trunks. A man walking backward through his backyard for 4 straight hours, never blinking. One page ended with just this. They're not a cult. They're watchers. They've always been in the woods, always filming. You don't join them, you get added. I felt like throwing up again. The final page was a photo. Not a Polaroid and inkjet print, grainy and low res. It was Trevor, dead. I don't know how else to say it. He was hanging upside down in a tree, duct tape across his chest in an X. Eyes open wide, blood soaked into the soil beneath him. Under the photo, a single sentence written in the same marker. He smiled when we finally looked back. He didn't scream, did cry. I just sat there for what felt like hours. At some point, the phone in the room rang, that old landline on the nightstand. I hadn't even noticed it before. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then silence. I didn't pick it up. It didn't move. I waited for night. I knew what was coming. When darkness finally swallowed the room, I turned off every light. Sat in the far corner of the motel, knees to my chest, watching the curtains move with the breeze from the busted AC. And eventually, I heard them. Crunch. Soft footsteps in the gravel outside. The sound of breathing. Not close. Not right at the door. Everywhere. Surrounding the room. Then, the click. That perfect, sharp, mechanical sound. A camera. Outside the window. I wanted to move. To run. But I was so far past fear. I felt like my bones had turned to powder. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps. Always 3. Always patient. And then, they opened the door. Didn't break it. Didn't smash it. Just opened it. I never heard the chair move. Never saw the lock turn. The door creaked wide, and they walked in. Not 1, not 2. All of them. 10, maybe 15 people. Dressed like campers. Faces blacked out. Not masks, literally gone. Just smooth skin. Like wax melted where eyes and mouths should be. Some tall. Some hunched. One crawling. All silent. All staring. They surrounded me. One stepped forward and knelt. They held something in their hands. A Polaroid camera. They raised it. Tilted their head. And before I could scream, click. That's the last thing I remember. Now I'm in a place I don't recognize. Somewhere deep. Cold. Dirt walls. Tarp ceiling. No light unless they let it in. They feed me. Once a day. Never speak. Sometimes they hold up pictures to my face. Of myself. Of Lacey. Of Trevor. Sometimes pictures I've never seen other people. Sometimes I hear new voices crying in the dark nearby. I think they're getting added now. I don't know how long I've been here, but I know this. Every time I close my eyes, I see the flash. I hear the shudder, and someone whispers from the dark, "Smile. You're part of the collection now."